everybody, my name is Miss Helic, and today we are going to talk about how to integrate pop culture into the classroom. So, for today's episode, we are going to focus on the YouTube channel Kurzgesagt. So, Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell, that's their whole title name, and that's because Kurzgesagt in German means in a nutshell. So, cute little translation that they automatically give you, which immediately gives an idea of what their channel is about. So, their channel breaks down a lot of scientific concepts and makes it really accessible, not only for students, but they try to reach people of all ages and education levels. So they use a cute little fun animated format that is really fun and engaging, and they explain these concepts in a way that is so accessible, and it's just like, it's very helpful. I definitely recommend it in the classroom, and that's why I'm talking about it today. So directly from their website, I want them to, talk for themselves. Our vision is to spark curiosity and encourage a science-based, humanist, and optimistic worldview. Beautiful. We want to spark curiosity within our students. That is the point of being a science educator, is to get our students curious about the world that they live in. However, part of that curiosity can sometimes leave our students feeling a little overwhelmed. There is a lot of information out in the world, and when you start looking into it, you can get kind of a pessimistic view. There's a lot of negative things going on out there. So one of the things that I love is that throughout their episodes and throughout their videos, they use humor as a way to spin it and make it more interesting, but also at the end of all of their videos, they end with a positive twist. So they give all of the facts, all of the information that your students or that you need to make an informed decision, and then they're like, hey, it's not all bad. We as humans can still turn around the world that we live in. We are capable of making that change. And I feel like that's really important for students, because sometimes they're like, well, why is this important to learn? Why do I need to know this? And it's because they are the future. They are the change that we need to make in this world. So love that message. And, with that, we can also connect it to a lot of standards that are required by the state. So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so part of our job as science educators is to spark curiosity within our students. However, we also have to meet state standards at the same time. And Kurzgesagt does a really good job of meeting a lot of standards, not just for biology, which is the main one that I'm going to talk about and that I'm going to focus on, but for other science educators. If you click the little magnifying glass on their YouTube channel, you type in a keyword for whatever lesson you're going to teach, you can probably find a video that's connected to it. So, like I said, for me, I'm going to be focusing on bio, but their channel is so widespread that I'm sure you are going to be able to find something. So while I was looking, I found a video for evolution, and I think that they did a really good job covering it. They did heredity, which is another content covered in 10th grade biology, and they have a really good video about cells, especially the immune system. I have watched that video so many times just for fun, especially when I'm sick, because I'm like, what is my body doing right now? Really interesting, definitely recommend. And they actually have multiple videos about the immune system, which I'll get into in a second. They also talk about diversity and the interdependence of life, and I believe that's all of our 10th grade science standards, actually. So, like I said, biology was the only area that I looked at, but I'm telling you, educators, if you look at their channel, I can almost guarantee that you are going to find something that you can tie with your lesson. And not only do they cover a lot of areas that we cover, but they get suggestions from members of their Patreon, and they make videos with those suggestions. So not only is it covering some of the stuff that we need to cover, but it's covering current issues and things that people are curious about and that they want to know more about. So maybe alongside with some of our content standards, they're in a fun little video. Say, hey, this is what's happening in the world right now. Let's talk about it, let's get some discussion going. So that's another thing that we can talk about, is nature of science and how we can tie that in. So, like I was saying earlier with cells and with their videos about the immune system. One of the Nature of Science standards is scientific knowledge is open to revision in light of new evidence. The reason why I brought that up is because they have actually made multiple videos about the immune system. As the scientific community, have continued to learn more and more and more, which I think is really important, that they go back and address some of the misconceptions and some of the misinformation that they had previously shared, which was accurate at the time, but now with new evidence, we can talk about it in a more specific way. And for the Nature of Science standard, science addresses questions about the natural and material world. Like I said, they get suggestions from their Patreon. They are getting suggestions from people in the real world, and they are using actual evidence that they find, that they fact checked, that they can share with us as the viewers, as we are curious about. And tied in with that is obviously scientific knowledge is based on empirical evidence. They double check all of the information that they share. They are not clickbait. Well, sometimes their videos are a little clickbaity. The titles definitely are. It's a YouTube channel. They have to get clicks. But within the actual video, they give really good information, and they are so thorough with everything that they do. And I feel like this is really important for our students to show that, like, can't judge a book by its cover. So even though, like, the title is something ridiculous, the actual content is really good, and that's knowledge that they can carry with them. So not only are we covering some of those state standards, which, you know, amazing, love that, but we are also getting into that nature of science and how we can encourage our students to interact with science and, you know, be well-informed humans. So love that, appreciate that. Now, how else can we get our students motivated? So finally, to tie a nice little bow on everything, why choose Kurzgesagt to implement into your classroom? So Kurzgesagt, as we said, connects to issues that students are worried about, because even though high schoolers love to act like they don't care, they do. They know that they are going to be moving into the big world in a little bit. And it helps them, you know, think about their future and think about what they can do to better prepare for the world that they're going to live in. Additionally, they use humor in a beautiful way that they make the content more interesting, but they're not taking away from the seriousness of it, which is a really difficult balance to maintain. But they've been working on their channel since 2013. So with time, you know, practice makes perfect. So another thing that they do really well is a problem within the scientific community, at least in the education world, is that we have separated science at the high school level into biology, chemistry, physics, earth space science, anatomy, physiology, etc., etc. This makes it a little bit difficult for students to understand how these concepts are connected. All of these are the realm of science. You know, some students, when they go into biology, they're like, well, why does this matter if next year I'm going to learn chemistry and it's going to be a whole completely new thing? It is, but it isn't. It's still science. And Kurzgesagt does a really good job of connecting all of these issues and connecting all of this information and making sure that students get the full picture and they see the interrelatedness of these topics. So just a really great job of tackling, you know, what can be a pretty big issue for some educators. And I think that they're a really good choice to at least look into. Maybe it's not for every educator. Maybe, you know, use certain clips. You don't have to use the whole video. But I do think that this is a really valid and entertaining resource to look into and to integrate within your classroom. So I hope you learned a little bit today, and I hope you at least think about integrating pop culture into your classroom and maybe starting with Kurzgesagt. All right, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.